I'm going to be able to sell a ton of this.
We're taking a long time to open this brewery.
Did you know it was going to be a hit, or did it just kind of like blow up?
There was no plan. There was no like, we're going to market this a certain way. A lot of people are like, oh my God, I don't even like craft beer.
That's a tough business to be in.
Super modest in my estimations of profitability. And I was like,
You're also dealing with inflation.
And we had naysayers for sure that it's not going to work.
we're pumping out 14,000 barrels of beer a year, which puts us in like the top 5% of breweries nationwide.
Stop working in your business and work on your business.
The lack of stress is worth a lot more than money. Every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, we sell the equivalent of almost 13,000 beers.
You wouldn't have made that call and that decision last minute, and we wouldn't be.
Man, I'm trying to give you a sad story.
He really is. He's
laid it on thick, man.
So like the first thing that I want to know about really is what's the conception of your business? Like I know I read the forum and y'all talked about like, you know, you really just love craft beer, right? But what really connected like I want to make my own beer?
Well, I've always kind of been the person that likes, all right, well, I get into something and then I want to know how it's made. I want to like take it apart, look at it. Even from when I was a little kid, my brother and I would take apart every toy we had and like see how they worked and then try to build our own. We were, building remote control.
Did you end up breaking a lot of stuff in that process?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what
99% of it.
Like,
Yeah. It never got put back together.
Yeah, that's my thing.
but yeah, so and I got into cooking early on, and the brewing kind of is a combination of tinkering, fixing, designing mechanical things and equipment, and then also the cooking aspect of it. You're basically making, it's not considered food, I guess. In some ways it is, but
it's a consumable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of two things that I really enjoy. And I guess the things that like I grew up doing, like, building things and, designing,
he taught himself how to weld just so he could brew his beer. Yeah.
No way.
Well, I took a welding class in high school, and I mean, I goofed off most of the time. But later on, and my grandfather was really handy. He was a machinist. He did everything, and he kind of, in fact, I got a lot of my tools originally from him.
Wow.
But he kind of helped nurture that side of things for us. But yeah, so brewing and home brewers are really innovative and they're really creative with their equipment, because they're historically there wasn't a lot of equipment to buy for home brewing.
Yeah.
So you had to make your own stuff. Now you can buy anything. You can build a commercial brewery in your house.
Yeah.
And people will come in and help you do it. It's insane now. But so that kind of spirit was something that I was really into. And so when I started home brewing, I was like, man, so this is really cool, because I can have a hobby that I can do something that takes up. It allows me to be creative. It allows me to be ingenuitive and do all these things, but then I can also not just show my buddy like, look what I built. I can actually serve that to him and say, hey, taste this. It's awesome. I designed this recipe. Yeah. And not only did I build the equipment to make this recipe, but I also, I designed the recipe.
That's wild to me.
So I thought it was just an awesome thing. And I guess I loved sharing it with people. Yeah. And, I became pretty obsessed with it early on, like brewing 2 to 3 batches a week, which is insane because you're looking at 6 hours.
Wow.
With a 9 to 5.
Wow.
So I'm basically spending like 12 hours and
you were
Saturday plus.
You were doing insurance before this, right?
So I worked for my father doing insurance.
That's wild. What did you do in the insurance industry?
I had a license. I sold property casualty, health, and life insurance as well.
That's what this office was, by the way. Insurance.
I noticed that when I walked in. At college, I had no idea what I was going to do. I got a degree in general studies. I had a few concentrations, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Yeah. I know, I look back and I'm like, I know I didn't want to work for somebody, but I didn't want to own a business at the same time. That wasn't really like, it wasn't like I wanted to, like, I was always trying to creatively, and you were too, come up with ways to make money on our own. But it wasn't like we want to own a business. Like that wasn't, it was kind of an in-between place.
We knew we worked well together creatively. I even remember I was like, we're starting an Etsy shop and you're going to take your skateboards and you're going to make, because he made a really cool like necklace and earrings out of skateboards for me. And I was I was like, come on, we got this. Let's do a business. And I had him do some random thing, like turn a Kentwood water jug into a fish tank tank with the bubbles and like so you could pretend you're getting water. And anyway, this was like college days, like, you know, and we're like being creative together. And I was like, I always feel like I've always felt like we're meant to do something more together. And we work well together. Not to say it can be challenging at times to work with your spouse, clearly, but it's been cool because we vibe really well with each other. And when he fell in love with home brewing, we had just gotten married. And so it kind of, I didn't really know much about craft beer. He taught me everything that I know now about it. In fact, he took me to Red, White, and Brew when we first started dating, and I was like, what? Like, all I knew was Bud Miller Coors. Like, there's banana bread flavors. Like, this is what? So I think the first beer you had me try was Wells Banana Bread, and he knew I liked banana bread. It's like,
that's one of my favorite beers, by the way.
It's so tasty. Good. And it got me hooked because I was like, what? You can make a freaking beer taste like banana bread? That's insane. And then it was like Hitachino Nest, and like, which was a wit beer. It was delicious. And then all these awesome German beers. And I was like, this is crazy. So I was instantly hooked, and I understood why he liked craft beer. And he told me, like, back in high school, he's like, I used to get made fun of because I'd show up to a party with like beers from around the world, and they're like, what's up? Like, where's the Natty Light?
That's
he's like, no, I appreciate
the Natty Light.
Like,
I wanted to drink my beer though, so I didn't have to share with anybody.
Hey, that's
nice.
Isn't Natty Light like half water or something? Anyways,
basically.
No, I think that's amazing. And you're talking about like working with your husband, and you know, I have some friends, they just opened a dentistry, and they're like, we love working together. And they were trying to convince me and my wife too. And I'm like, no, we do not work well together. Like, my wife is very smart. She's got a lot of wisdom, and I trust her instincts. But when it comes, we're both very dominant personalities, and it's like, it just doesn't mesh well. So maybe if she's like at one end and I'm at the other, it could, but she's happy not working for me. So
I think it's a very beautiful thing that you can make that work.
Well, yeah, it's like I said, it's, you know, it's all about personalities and making them work. And that's another whole part of it is not just, you know, that's another aspect to it. And, you know, you think about it and you're like, okay, well, you know, it's something I was thinking about recently is like, we're not just, so the decisions are basically magnified, because if I'm sitting here trying to make a decision for my business and I'm saying, well, this is going to work or this is not going to work. Right. Well, then also, because it's how we make our living and the business, it's not just like I'm making a decision for a business. There's no backup plan. There is no other income plan. And our family has to survive off of this. Yeah. So when I make a decision for that, it's like, it's like I said, it's magnified. It's like, all right, well, I'm not just making a decision for Gnarly Barley. I'm making the decision for our income, for raising my kids, for my family. Yeah. So it's
and all of our employees and their families. So a lot of pressure.
So it's like basically two things. We're making it for it's a business decision and a personal decision. Yeah. People always say it's business, not personal. Well, both. But yeah, it does add like an intensity to everything we do. And you know, and maybe if you're working for somebody, you have a business, or people who have multiple businesses, they're like, well, you know, you win some, you lose some. But I feel like we can't lose any, because you never know when you're going to lose some. You're going to lose some that you think you're going to win. So we're really trying to win everything, because there's so much more on the line. And if that makes sense. Yeah. And there isn't, but in your mind there is, because it's your family and your business all wrapped up into one. And so those, you know, so it's a little more pressure.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely say, like, one of the things that I know about, that I've heard about y'all essentially is y'all are very community driven. And I know that, like, we had y'all fill out a form and y'all said that, and your focus is that, but it's, you know, I think the thing that's so great about it is that it's not just y'all saying it, it's what everybody recognizes about y'all. And that's a really powerful thing. And I look at your Instagram and I'm like, how the heck did she get so many of these guys to like dress up in like the short shorts and like the band, what do you call it? The sweatbands or whatever, and like do this dance. I'm like, that's amazing. And it's hilarious. And especially because you had a ton of people doing it. Like, and you just see like some of the drone footage that y'all have of like all the people like connecting and having a good time, you know, obviously drinking your beer, but it's so much deeper than that.
It really is.
Because there's that connection, that community. And I think that, you know, we were talking earlier about, you know, the branding behind it a little bit, as far as like, you know, feeling genuine to the South and Louisiana. And, you know, I was stating is like, I feel like what you're doing is more genuine because it's what's actually there.
Yeah.
You know, it's how the community is actually connected.
You know, that's one thing that we're just, it's just so awesome to be involved in a business that, that is so like community oriented and that brings people together so much. And I say it a lot of times, like it's weird that there's so many people rooting for our success when, you know, there's so many businesses out there that that's not a thing at all. People are just like, whatever, you're selling me something that I need. I don't care about your success. All I care about is how cheap I can get this item. Right. But with us, you know, there's so many people that are actually emotionally involved in our success, and it's crazy. It's still, even 10 years into it, it's like, why do they care so much like that we're doing, like when we have a unique thing or something comes out and it does really well, and like I have people that tell me that they're proud of us and that I don't even know who they are. I'm like, this is crazy. There's random people like, so it also adds a lot of pressure. It's like, oh crap, I gotta like, what the heck's going on?
I don't want to disappoint.
But it is humbling. It's like, how it's like, wow, I'm just trying to make a living doing something I love to do, and so many people are rooting for us. There's very few people out there that are not rooting for us, and that's what's so cool about the craft beer world. Even other brewers, and I mean, I've literally had other brewers early on, especially, that were like, called me up just to tell me how proud they were that we got off the ground, that we got started. I was becoming one of their competitors, and they were saying they were genuinely proud to be able to welcome us into the industry. So that's something that, I mean, I don't know of many other businesses or industries that have that kind of impact, special thing going on, you know. So we're just lucky to be able to operate. We just, like I said, we wanted to do something that we love doing, and we decided that this was the way, and not knowing a lot of these things would end up, you know, panning out like that. So,
and we've always said to each other, because we met at Southeastern and we ended up deciding to open the brewery in Hammond, and we've always just enjoyed this community in this town, and it's really neat because people have embraced us, and the city has, and the parish have all embraced us, which is really cool. And we've been able to grow from not just being a manufacturer that ships beer out, but also to a place where people can come, and we're accepting of everyone, and everyone can come have a good time with their families. And so we didn't really know that going in, that we were going to end up being this event venue, so to speak, because we throw a good party and we like to have fun. And so having all the people out is great too, because it's a time to come together and enjoy, you know, music and food and friendship. So, and a good beer. So it's really cool, because we've always said to each other, like, if we didn't do this, we would hope someone else would, because I think it's a nice thing for Hammond to have.
Yeah, it's a great community event, and I like that.
And honestly, we weren't even, I mean, that was not something you could do in Louisiana when we opened. They did not allow tap rooms.
Really?
It was the interpretations of the law did not allow tasting the tap room on site. You could have a tour and give free samples away, but that's it. You couldn't actually sell beer.
And that's what we did. $5, and you had a pint glass, and you got 3 beers.
It was a $5 tour, and you got free samples. But I did that for a year and a half or so, and then fortunately, some of the other brewers were pushing for some changes, and they had an attorney look at the laws and say, these laws are being interpreted incorrectly. The law says you are allowed to have a tap room, and so immediately the city. The state issued a letter on a notice on it, and so we went into operation as having a paid tasting room, and we've grown that over time. So initially opening this business, we were just going to be pure manufacturer. I jokingly say a lot of times that I just wanted to brew beer in a dark warehouse by myself and ship it out, and not have to deal with the public.
My cave.
Boy, did that change.
But everything has evolved totally to where we are still 95 to 96% of our liquid is sold through distribution. So we are mainly a manufacturer as far as, you know, our total production, but the on-site stuff has grown into basically, I mean, 2.5 acres of space. There's an acre of park, and there's a kitchen on site. There's so much more, and it's family friendly, and it's basically 2 separate environments. Whereas there's the tap room where you can come and sit, and it's more of a bar environment, and then there's across the street where we have the patios and the park area, which is more of a family setting. And so I mean, all these things have come along over
organically, very
just kind of like, you know, this building's come available. We need more space. Let's take over that. What about this property? And
we need more parking, and then
it just fell into our lap as we've gone, and that. So that whole side of it has been awesome. I mean, people are so great that they come to the brewery, and they tell us how much they love being there, and it's just great to hear that every day.
No, that's awesome. I wanted to ask, so I'll start with this and then I'll jump into the next part of it. How old were y'all when y'all started this?
I was 30 when we received the tanks. I know that because I
30th birthday.
I just turned 40, so 10 years ago.
Awesome birthday present.
Yeah. It was awesome. Like they arrived on my birthday. So it was pretty cool. Yeah. It was awesome.
Get to work.
So when 2011, I think is when the LLC was formed.
Okay.
After going to so we got married in 2009 and funny story, Zach convinced everyone to give him Bed Bath & Beyond gift cards so he could buy a kegerator off Bed Bath & Beyond. He's like, oh, I got this figured out.
Rest in peace, Bed Bath & Beyond.
That's a brilliant idea.
Did they just close?
I don't know. But they did? Okay.
Yeah.
So we get this kegerator, and then he quickly realizes that he can't fit these like German style kegs in it, right? Isn't that what happened? It's it wasn't perfect for what you wanted.
Too small for the German coupler that goes on top.
Yeah. Wow. And then you were like, you know what? Forget this. I'm just going to brew my own beer. Like, I don't need to get stuff from Germany.
So thankfully for Bed Bath & Beyond's amazing return policy.
Yeah, which is why they made
I returned the kegerator 4 months later or something.
Yes, and got the money back.
Got the money back.
Not even just gift cards. Turn around, went to the home brew shop bought the home brew kit.
Wow.
So that's how it all began. It was in 2009, I think, is when you started brewing, right? Because we got married in June of 2009. You started brewing that year. I think your first beer was what? That one on Super Bowl / Mardi Gras Day,
so
remember?
It was really 2010 because I brewed it on Super Bowl Sunday and packaged it on Mardi Gras Day.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we still have the original bottle that he like put it in. I don't know. It would taste horrible probably, but you know. Yeah. But the bottle's cool. So that kind of kicked everything off. And then we went to some home brew festivals and brought our beer out there, and we were like, we have a line. Like, what? People want this. They're asking, where can we buy this? And we had never gone into it thinking of that. We were just like having fun brewing beer. Yeah. I mean, I would assist. And be the taste tester, which I didn't mind at all. And we went out there and people were asking us, and we left that festival. It was New Orleans on Tap, I think 2011, 12, something like that. Oh, wow. And we left that festival and we're like, should we do this? Like, I think we should do this. Like, people want this beer. And that's what kicked it off. And then it took from 2011-ish to 2014 before we opened, because obviously you got to find a loan, business plan,
finding money,
getting the tanks ordered and designed, delivered.
We decided to build everything ourselves except for the actual tank system itself. So I designed it with the manufacturers, but assembly and wiring and piping, and we did all that ourselves. And so it took quite a while. Saved us a lot of money. Sometimes, people say time is money, but we didn't have any money, so we had time.
A lot of time though.
But yeah, so it took a while. We really did it bare bones financially. Looking back.
Well, I'm actually curious, if y'all don't mind, like how big of a loan did you need to have to start this?
So as a manufacturer, you got to think, well, we're building a facility to manufacture and ship out liquid beer, which is a pretty technical thing to produce. Yeah. So most people, I'd say, today you're going to need a minimum of $1 million to get started. We had less than half.
Wow.
That. So
wow.
We had way less than half that. So we
really that and some elbow grease.
Yeah.
Things were a little different then. We started without a packaging line, so we were draft only. Yeah. Today's world, that's a little tough to do because there are so many breweries in this market. Yeah. Back then, we were the 11th brewery to open up in Louisiana, which most people are going to think that's a lot. That is nothing. There's now 40
You're talking
something,
about an entire state.
And we are and we are still second to least amount in any state. So right? I mean, you look at there's cities that have 40 breweries. I mean, you look at
that's a lot.
Seattle. I mean, I was in Seattle recently, and I walked to 6 breweries from one parking spot.
Wow.
So
that's actually kind of cool though.
Yeah, it was cool. I was in a brewery sitting next to a brewery. Yeah. I was like, hey, there's another brewery. That's crazy.
Just go try a beer out from every spot.
It was awesome. So things, obviously a little harder. You need a little more upfront to get started. But yeah, so we were kind of at the cusp of a lot of growth of, so before that, there was only 11 breweries at that time because like 3 or 4 had just opened up before us. So, it was like 2 breweries forever. So the timing, which was totally not on purpose, was great for us. We were at the right age wanting to do to do our own brewery at the right time. It wasn't something strategically thought out, but looking back now, it's like, wow, we were in a few years of where it was the best time.
Like the money zone. Yeah.
So she was 30 whenever y'all got the stuff in. How old were you?
31, 32. About
okay. So you're older than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so like, I'm really curious, and I'm sure like anybody who's watching this is like, what was like when you started it? What was your biggest struggles? Like because you have a background in marketing and sales and things like that. Like what was going through your heads? Because I know like in my experience, I'm writing down on a piece of paper, and it's like, I look back at it now and I'm like, golly, how was I even like figuring anything out? And really, I've noticed like you kind of figure it out. You get like a baseline and then you figure it out as you go. Mm-hmm. But I want to know like that journey that y'all took in starting it, the conception of it, like the struggles of it. Like, okay, because you said it took like a year to get to actually open up. Like, what was happening in that time? What were the stress levels like too?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of, we look back and so I left my job a few months, before several months, because at first I was working after I'd go to work, then I'd leave and I'd go into the brewery and start working on the brewery and trying to get it going. So I was working real late, and eventually I stepped away from my job, and then I was there all day. I think maybe 4 or 5 months before we got open. Wow. But even after we opened, for many months, Carrie continued to work full time. So she was doing this on the side. I was the only person working in the brewery.
We had a volunteer.
We'd have volunteers and some other people that were looking to get into brewing themselves. And one of them actually owns a brewery. Him and his dad own a brewery, Louisiana, and then the other one is my head brewer.
Nice.
So he's my head brewer, brewmaster. He's awesome. He's awesome. So, but
go ahead.
Oh, so sorry, but yeah. So the struggle we look back, what I was kind of getting at is like, I think we were so busy and in it that I don't know if we had time to stress. Like it was, like every moment was stressful, but nothing was.
But it was like exciting,
stressful, because it was like, we're just trying to get this thing operational. We're trying to, we don't really, looking back, I think it's kind of funny. We don't really realize what we were doing. Like we were like, holy, like, are we looking back? I'm like, I could never do that again. There was an immense amount of pressure on us, and we had no idea. We were just blindly, ignorantly like, oh, we're going to open a brewery and I'm going to go make these wires work. And then one thing at a time, little bites. And then
bites.
Like if I were like taking the time to probably breathe and look around and be like, oh crap, I got to make this thing work.
Yeah.
And we got to marketing. We were just trying to survive. Yeah. We were just trying to get beer in a tank, then get that beer into a keg, and then somebody pick it up and buy it. And that was, it was not a lot. I don't know. There wasn't a lot of time to stress.
I will say, bleeding up to opening, the stressors could be, well, the fact that I was like, are we going to ever have kids? Because like we're taking a long time to open this brewery, and I know we want to have kids, but I also knew that my priorities would shift if we did. Yes. And so we kind of were like, okay, let's get this thing open first, because we need to focus on this entirely. Right. And we knew that it would be way tough, to have kids in that process. So we didn't have our first until year 1. Like we were celebrating 1 year open, and then we had our first child. And then before that, so I think that kind of helped us to focus. But then also, when we were in the process of trying to open, Zach made a crazy change from going to 5-barrel system to a 30-barrel system, which I think
that sounds like a big jump,
a huge jump. Yeah. And it was, honestly, if we wouldn't have made that, if you wouldn't have made that call and that decision last minute, we wouldn't be where we are today. Like there's just no way.
Yeah. And that
was stressful.
It was basically the bank came through with, it was like, all right, we need this much money. And then they came through with it, and it was like, all right, well, I think I can squeeze out a little more equipment.
Wow.
Nice. So I just like quadrupled the size of it. But once you build a brew house like that there's the increasing cost from the smaller to a larger is not like equal to the size, right? So it wasn't like we quadrupled our budget or anything.
But that was a huge
but it is
decision.
Because, we were naive in a lot of ways, and I thought that sending out that X amount of beer would hit a profitability that we needed to be. And neither one of us went into this thinking that we were going to ever get rich or make a lot of money. This was, hey, let's do this because we can we can literally make beer and get paid to do that every day of our lives. Like this is
pretty fun job.
This is the coolest thing that we could imagine, the plans were that I was basically just going to brew all the beer forever. Like that's how it was going to go. We were not going to have a whole lot of employees, just a couple of people to help. We were going to brew all of our own beer and just, send it out. So looking back, knowing now how much really it takes, especially being a primary manufacturer, as opposed to being a tap room or a brew pub, how much beer it takes to actually hit those profitabilities and to make it make sense. That decision going from the smaller system to the 30 barrel system is huge. And that's still the system we use now. And, we're pumping out 14,000 barrels of beer a year, which puts us in like the top 5% of breweries nationwide, and
that is
total
huge,
volume.
yeah.
Now, in that top 5%, you're looking at massive differences. We're at 14,000. You got Abita at 75,000, and then you got Samuel Adams at 2.8 million. Yeah. So that top 5% there's some. There's some big,
it still sounds good.
boys.
You're in the top 5%.
I
mean, but look,
take it.
Abita, Samuel Adams, they've been in the game a lot longer too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like if for you to be able to accomplish getting even in the same range of that is pretty amazing,
It's definitely been a wild ride. And our goal was to one day hit, after expansions and growth and all kinds of years of operation, to hit like 10,000 barrels was our goal. And I think we did that in 2019.
Wow. Okay.
And so now, but also to be honest, the profitability is nowhere near what I thought it would be, even though I thought I was being super modest in my estimations of profitability. And I was like, we'll be able to get this much profit off a keg and this and that. And it is taking a lot more liquid to hit those, to where we can sustain the business and grow it and make sense.
Well, I mean, you're also dealing with inflation, like prices everywhere has risen a lot. You still have to buy the hops and everything that you have to buy, because I don't know everything. I'm gonna sound like an idiot if I try to. But I mean, you have to buy all these things, and if those prices increase and you're not increasing your prices, then your margins are way less, and that's something that we've talked with, Luma as well. It's like, man, like it's tough because you can have a lot of volume, but your margins, and I think just like the food industry in general, and I would qualify beer into that since it's a consumption thing, is that that's a tough business to be in. But y'all are killing it. Y'all are doing a great job. I mean, I don't know how much y'all bring in, but I mean, it looks like on the outside, like, man, because I go out of town, I'm traveling out of town, and I see y'all's beers, and I'm like, dude, that's freaking awesome. I love that. How far do y'all spread out?
So there, a lot of people want to use that measurement as how far do you distribute your beer. We are actually pretty modest, or we don't distribute out that far. We're Louisiana and a small percentage of Mississippi.
Okay.
So we do have a little bit of distribution there's some of these like small distributors that actually will. There's this company out of Virginia that we do little splashes where we'll ship them a truckload of beer, and then they'll divide it by a few states, and it'll just be temporary distribution. Cool. We do that kind of as really more of a marketing and like kind of a fun, let's get our beer in some different hands and people, because we do have customers from other states that get their beer when they come through, or they have.
You can also order online, huh?
So we cannot ship beer in Louisiana. We could get the permits to ship beer outside of Louisiana directly to customers, but we haven't taken that step. And not to say that we're like, we're too busy to sell to any new markets. But at the end of the day, where we want to operate and where we want to sell most of our beer is close to home. If you look at it from, a pure business side of it, I mean, a case of beer weighs 20 pounds. Shipping's not cheap. So every mile that I send that beer further from home,
it's less money.
It's less money. So I can't have
not as fresh too.
Can't have $20 $20 six packs, and that's the other side of it. So the freshness. So when that beer hits that customer's hands, I want it to be the experience that we want them to have. We're brewing it towards, and so. So you're giving up some of that. So you're giving up revenue. You're giving up profitability. You're giving up the quality when you ship it further out. So what we really focus on is volume. And if I can sell as much beer in Louisiana as someone else is selling in 5 states, then I don't care about that geographical growth.
We do drink a lot of beer here.
So
That's true.
so that's really, you know, so like the kind of, you know, a lot, like I said, most of the time I do get that question a lot. I was like, how widespread, how far out do y'all sell your beer? Well, really the question is how much beer do we sell?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we look at it. I mean, you can obviously it seems pretty straightforward, but so that's obvious, you know, and obviously that's our goal, but so our distribution, just to kind of put it in perspective, I know I talked about barrel numbers, but every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, we sell the equivalent of almost 13,000 beers every single day.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Just in the state of Louisiana. So that's through mostly distribution and a little bit of, like I said, just a coastal area, a little bit of Mississippi. But most breweries that sell the volume that we sell would be in a 4 to 6 state distribution.
Yeah.
So we've been able to do all that right here at home, and that's what.
That's amazing. It's almost like a
really
tourist attraction.
You know?
Yeah, it's going to be listed on there shortly. I'm convinced.
We did win 2023 Attraction of the Year from the Louisiana Tourist Commission.
Wow.
Let's go.
Yeah, I noticed y'all actually have quite a laundry list of awards and things that y'all have accomplished, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's another side of it that, you know, we never expected. It's just like, you know, sometimes I scratch my head. I'm like, why do they keep picking us to win these cool awards? like I said, we're putting our heads down. We're just making beer, selling beer, doing what we love, drinking some beer.
But I mean, isn't that the cool part about it, is that you're just being genuine? Like you really have your heart into it, where some people just try to put this persona on to sell themselves, where you're just like, man, I'm just a dude who loves beer, and we put a lot of heart into it. And I think that hard work shows. And people are like, man, that guy, you know, Zach, he's just a regular guy. Carrie's just really cool. You know, like when she responded to me, she's like, that'd be rad. I'm like, I like her already. Like,
this is going to be a fun one. Yeah.
And really, like, that's what, you know, the lingo is pretty much around y'all, as far as what people talk about y'all and talk about y'all as, is like, yeah, they're just really like friendly, nice, normal people, and I love it. And it's funny because whenever you see somebody like have some measure of success, they get this idea of you, and then when you're just like, I'm really just like you, we just have a business, you know, it's like it shocks people in this place, like almost like they think they're instant friends with you. Like, man, that guy's my boy. I'm gonna go to a shop. Like, hey, come to my friend's brewery. So no, it's cool. There is a lot of good buzz going around with y'all, and obviously it's because y'all are doing great things. You know, I love that you're talking about, you know, when you're starting the business and you're just like, we didn't really have time to think about the stress, and it's like that consumption, and it really, like, you're just a guy who just wants to love what he's doing, right? Because I'm sure insurance wasn't that fun. My dad tried to get me into it, and you know, when I was 27, I was like, why didn't I do this? And I had, like, you know, a couple of kids already, and I'm like stressing out about money because I haven't figured out my path in life yet. But when my dad tried to get me to do it, I was literally like doing animations on my computer while I was supposed to be working, and like totally taking advantage of the situation. And I mean,
I planned a brewery while I was sitting on it.
He was not really focused on insurance.
Yeah.
Which is great because, you know, it's one of those jobs where, you know, if you put it more into it, you get more out of it, but also you can kind of take a back seat, do some other things, and play in some other things.
I was gonna say, we did take a trip to California when we had gotten together, and to see if maybe we should move out of state since I was in fashion merchandising, and he didn't know what he wanted to do, but he knew he loved skateboarding. And he's like, well, how can I have a job in skateboarding around here? You really can't. He's like, but if we maybe went to like someplace big like California where there's a bunch of skate parks, I could build a skate park, because he built his own ramps and stuff like that. So was involved in a nonprofit organization to get skate parks built in Louisiana. And
that's awesome.
And so we went out there, and we're like, these are just not our people. Like, this is not where we really want to, we don't want to move to do something. And so that's where the name Gnarly Barley comes from, is his love of skateboarding. And the logo, the original wheel logo that we have on our cans and everything, is a skateboard wheel. So it was just interesting that he tried to figure out his path, and then in turn with how the cookie crumbled with the draft beer becoming like, it didn't fit. Oh, you know what? I'm going to brew my own beer. And then it was like, I have to tear down my mini ramp in my garage so I can fit my homebrew equipment and let me name it Gnarly Barley.
They coexisted for a while, but
they
once we got
really
serious,
skate when you got
hard to let the ramp go.
Yeah. Well,
equipment.
I was getting older and it was harder to get friends over to skate, so it wasn't getting used as much. And then we have a great park in Hammond, so it's not like I didn't have a place to go skate, but I think I'd lived in like four or five, I don't know, 4 places that I'd had ramps always. So this was nice. So this was my first time.
So it was kind of a sad day to take it down, but
kind of like the end of an era almost.
Yeah, it went.
I'm old. Let's move on to this.
But it's almost like a pivotal point of making that decision of like, hey, this is what we're gonna do.
And we had naysayers for sure that were like, Gnarly Barley, that name is not, it's not going to work. It's not a Louisiana enough name. And we were like, well, that stinks because that's what we enjoy this name. This makes sense to us. It embodies who we are. And we thought about it for a while. We're like, maybe we need to change it up. Like, I don't know. And so that was a stressor.
Yeah.
And then eventually we realized, no, we're going to stick to our guns. We're going to call it what we want to call it. It makes sense. It's who we are. So, and then one of our beers, Catahoula Common, is a Louisiana. That's a Louisiana state dog. So you can have Louisiana within your business. It doesn't have to just scream Louisiana.
Right. No, I agree. Like I used to have a Catahoula. Love Catahoula. My dog was amazing. I love that dog. So I definitely like when I saw Catahoula Common, I was like, oh, that's cool. And because that's part of my culture, it makes me honestly like I don't know how the beer tastes, because I haven't had it since y'all started making that one, but I'm like, oh, I want to try that because I had a Catahoula. But at the same time, if y'all went like super hardcore on the southern side of things and the Cajun aspect, you really would have just blended in with everything else.
Right.
What makes you different from Abita, which is in my opinion, very, Cajun style.
I like that you guys stay true to yourselves, and I think that's what's making you stand out. And I think that's what's going to.
We all grew up on Abita, and are so happy they paved the way. But
and I'm not knocking on Abita. I actually really like their beer too.
Yeah, so. And they've been great to us and paving the way and helping us out the other breweries coming along after them, which is awesome. But yeah, we were like, we got to stay true to who we are, and we're born and raised here. It's not like we're not from Louisiana coming in trying to be, you know what I mean? So that's going to come through no matter what, but let's focus on what else makes us who we are. And that was skateboarding and that culture.
And I think we have like a lot of people have a misconception of what Louisiana culture really is like. Now, unless you go down to like Lafourche Parish or something like seriously, like way down in the bayou where you can't go any further down in Louisiana. That's where you have a lot more of the Cajun culture where people are still speaking Cajun French and you have those hardcore accents. But like in Hammond, Louisiana, this is how we talk. We don't have those accents. And it's really akin to, most modern areas. I mean, when you go into like New Orleans, that's a different story too. But
our head brewer is actually from Cutoff.
Wow. So he's probably got the accent.
Joey actually, he doesn't, believe it or not. And he lives in New Orleans, but he's awesome and helped us with creating Jucifer, actually.
Yeah, he's been a huge part of it since really the first year.
So how do you find a master brewer?
Well, he wasn't when we hired him.
We built him.
We were just home brewers making beer. He was
our director of sales, Don, actually introduced us to him. So
at the time, he wasn't even working for us. We were friends with him, but our director of sales, but he was actually working for a beer distributor. Or actually at that point a bar, but he introduced us to Joey. Joey came and started volunteering once a week and helping out with some things, and then got more and more involved. And then, he was working at a homebrew shop in New Orleans. He was a home brewer, and like I had personally never worked in a brewery before this. So I was just a home brewer trying to figure it out as well. And so we kind of came together on ideas, and then eventually he took over little by little. He took over the cellar, which is, the fermentation part of it. And then, it was great because I was able to slowly move away, and then we were hiring people to take over underneath him as he would move up. And then it worked perfectly. And as soon as he took over the brewing operations, I was able to focus and we could really get in the office and start doing some things to allow us to grow and focus on growth. a lot more, because I mean, brewing is super hands-on. So
yeah, I believe it.
when I was on the brew deck and I was on the floor, I mean, you really can't do anything else except for try to invoice every now and then. But
I'm assuming, I not really know much about brewing, but I'm assuming that if you make a mistake, you ruin the whole batch.
Oh yeah, I mean that's it's fortunately you design the equipment and the processes to where mistakes are rare, because you got to, but you mean you're it's still a manual process, so you're controlling them all, but it's your SOPs and your detailed lists and everything is, exactly what you're doing. I mean, you're taking the temperature of the air temperature even in the building before you get started, so all your variables are considered, so your mistakes are very rare if you're a good brewer, or you're following you're following your guides. But and obviously cleaning, I mean 90% of what a brewer does is clean. It's it's not a glorious job at all. It is absolutely just cleaning. I mean, we call cleaning kegs, doing the dishes. I mean, it is, you're cleaning constantly, and that's what keeps you from having issues. But the thing is that your quality, your shelf life, your stability, your consistency, none of those things are going to work if you're not ultra clean and brewing, consistent in quality beer. So, that's a big thing. So cleaning is key. And I mean, our beer is a million times better than it was when we got started, and we're continuing to always improve on that. And
that's crazy, man, because it was really good around the time, I mean, I don't remember what time we came and shot that video, but that was around the time that I was actually tasting your beers. And you created a whole lot more since I was able to, but it was really good from the start, man. It's a whole lot better,
Fortunately, we were young. The industry was young, and so the quality of beer wasn't quite what it is today. 10 years ago in Louisiana, so there was a little more forgiveness then. Now it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
Well, like I was saying earlier, I might have to just take the risk one day and just taste it, because
go for it. Yeah.
I've always loved the craft of beer, of drinking it, because I was 21 when I really started getting into it, and my buddies would show me the banana bread beer, and I'm mine was blown. That was one of my first this is crazy. And then I started getting into IPAs and things like that. I was like, man, those are hard to keep chugging down though, the IPAs, because they are,
you gotta have
stout.
a acquired taste.
But man, I really enjoy. That's what I'm saying. I might have to one day I'll go pick up a few of your beers.
You're gluten intolerant, right?
Celiac.
Or celiac.
So I can't even touch the stuff, but I'm a lot of people say that oh, you might die. I'm I don't know if it's that far, but I get sick,
I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
But
you're completely gluten free.
Yeah, it sucks. It really does. It's hard. So I'm I wonder if they have a gluten-free beer. And I know you said in the forum that that's kind of the trend. So really, honestly, that's part of the trend, because of all of the skimflation that we have today, where people are essentially selling plastic as if it's bread or things like that, and we're consuming it. Body can't digest it, and body freaks out and says, "Hey, this is foreign." And so it's we can't have the nice things in life. This is This is why we don't have nice things. But no, so yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, with you guys building this from the ground up, and with Joey, your brewmaster, how hard was it for you to kind of let him essentially take the reins and be the brewmaster?
That is a good
and
question.
Step away.
It was kind of an interesting situation, because I'd actually injured my back real bad at one point, and he was already growing into it and doing a stellar job. He came in immediately and outworked anybody around. He'd scrub a tank with a toothbrush kind of thing. He was really, really detail oriented, very easy to work with, and just kind of knocked everything out. There was never any issues. It was and him being our first employee, you kind of didn't even realize how, because that's not the case often, is that you have to kind of mold people and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, right off the bat, he was just stellar. And at one point I injured my back pretty bad. And it got to the point where I was like, hey, I can't brew tomorrow. And I was like, you're going to have to take the brew house over. I know you've been with me doing it a few times.
Yeah.
But I'm going to need you to, carry it out. And Fortunately, I was able to recover fairly quickly. But as soon as I saw him on the brew house, I was like, that's one more thing that he naturally took over and had no problems carrying out the process exactly how, it was meant to be. And
you can tell that he cares, and that's what he loves to do.
Yeah. So. And he was a passionate brewer himself. And I'd tasted his beers, and his own home brew was always super high quality and well done. So, it just made sense. And as I started getting pulled away, and I kind of realized like, oh, well, if he does this, then I can get over here and do this and actually start doing more towards the business, or, not that like maintenance had been lacking, but like, you got machinery that needs to be greased, that needs to be maintained, that needs to be PM'd. So I was like, oh, well, I'm really good mechanically, so I can go focus more on this mechanical side of things, and I can keep the brewery running. It was like, so every opportunity, it wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm stepping away. It was more like, oh, I'm growing into my role better. Yeah. So it was allowing me to grow more into my role by allowing him to do what he did. And, and that was, that was huge for us, and then having somebody now who is considered one of the best brewers in the region by far. And he's stellar. And like, and we talk a lot about that, is kind of get us talking about some other things, but, and it goes back to the stepping away thing. And that's had to happen many, many times for us throughout the last 10 years, but it's because of the people who have stepped in for us that allowed us to do that pretty much seamlessly and easy. And I get asked that question a lot. I was like, how was it for you to delegate and to how and to like let go of some things? But it was the people that moved in to take those roles over that made it so easy. And the next step is when we hired Don. Finally, he had been working with him through. He actually was one that kind of got us going at the first festival, working for some beer bars that he was managing, and he did a lot in that craft beer community before. Then he worked for our distributor, managing the craft side of our distributor, and then we were able to hire him a few years in, and then he took over sales, and that was just like a huge win for us, because he handles all of our distributor relations and our sales and all those things that he has all the background in. And that was another point to where we were drowned in like, a lot of that stuff is just the more distributors you have, the more people you got to deal with, the more things that got to happen. So when he came along and he opened up a whole new aspect where we could focus on additional things and grow our business. So really, I mean, honestly, when he came on, it was like, here, take all this. I can't do this anymore. Like that was very easy to let go of those things. And then even now, our entire staff, our team is built and allowed us to do what the business has done. And so, people are like, how, the last 10 years, y'all's growth and y'all have done so much. And it's like, well, Carrie and I are the ones that always get, congratulated and our faces are in front of it. But at the end of the day, it's like those people are really the ones making it happen,
For sure.
I think the best thing that we've done as business owners is been able to put together a stellar team that make us look really good. And obviously, that goes hand in hand with like, well, we're hoping that we're pushing out this vibe of that we're just trying to do something good in the community, blah, blah, and all that stuff. It's like, it's not just about that. It's also building a great business or company of humans. I don't like to use the term family because it's so overused by big companies. We're building a family here.
Well, normally it's the people that say that take advantage of the family.
Here's a pizza party for your hard work this year.
Thanks for making me $2 million. Here's some pizza.
But that, so that's been really, we have been truly focused on that. We started our benefit program with like 8 employees. Wow. We had tax reduction on the federal level on our excise taxes, and I was like, hey, this is going to save us X amount of dollars a year. Now we can take that exact amount of money and we can start a benefit program, and we'll be able to provide benefits for our employees with that money. So instead of looking at it as an opportunity to put more money in our pockets, because I'm too stupid to do that, I was like, shoot, sorry, I can make these people happier, and that in turn will make us less stressed, because the happier they are,
very crucial fact.
And trust me, stress is worth. The lack of stress is worth a lot more than money when you're operating a business, especially now we have 30 employees, and being able to walk in there and know that they're all happy is I mean, you cannot put a value on that.
No, you can't.
And not everybody's going to be
very undervalued.
Oh yeah. I mean, because it's constantly, we live this life. We live the brewery. Every conversation we have, even if it's about something else, like I was telling you earlier, there's always those things are always interweaved, and it's always if I can step away and say, hey, look, I'm taking a day off, and know that not only is the job going to get done, but it's going to get done by people who really care. That is worth way more than money to me, because I can have that time. I mean, there's an old saying, right? Time is money. I said it before, but also you can't buy time.
No, you
know.
Can't.
Yeah,
and time with my family is way more important than a few dollars.
The most valuable asset. I 100% agree. And the thing is, like, you're not getting any younger.
Right.
That's how I feel. It's like, man, my kids are getting older. I want more time alone. And so, like, you've been talking about this idea of like working on your business, and it's something that I really have in my heart and my mind, and I want to help small businesses do this too. It's like, stop working in your business and work on your business. And I feel like a lot of small businesses struggle with that. It's because they don't get that one thing. And so they're like, well, nobody can do it like I can do it. Well, teach them, teach them how to do it, and then let go. And I think it is really hard. And I go through the same thing, because it's like, well, that isn't how I would edit a video or this or that, And so you obviously have to have a standard and hold it to a high standard. But I feel like you also have to have, and this is the hardest part, is allow people to make mistakes. And it's like,
very true.
It's tough.
When I had to step away with having our second child, we hired Nikki, which huge shout out to her, because she was like basically everything that I needed to do. I had to hand it over to her. Yeah. And that made me very nervous, but at the same time, it was like, a breath of fresh air. Yeah. She's amazing. She does things better than I could do them now. It's just, she's great.
Nikki's
what is her exact title?
Like marketing, maybe?
No. She does help me out with whatever I need. So she
titles in Gnarly Barley are hilarious. Like this,
not office manager. What is?
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
She's like basically
operations coordinator is her technical.
Yeah, she does HR. She pays bills. She keeps things in check. She's organized.
You got a Sam
in the lifeline.
Yeah, she is exactly.
She makes my emails sound better than when I type them.
She's great, and so. And then because when we had our second, it was at the end of December 2019, and then we rolled right into COVID. So had she not been there, I don't know what we would have done, because it was like, not only did I just have a child, but now I have to stay home with these two kids too, and I can't be at the brewery. So we really lucked out having her, and she worked for our distributor before as well. So that's how we got to know her. She was in the beer industry, and so we're so grateful to have her, and then along with our designer Casey too, who's been with us from the get-go, doing all the designs too. So I think that, obviously we have many more employees that I'd love to shout out everybody. But we were so lucky to have such a great team that cares, and we care for them right back. So I think it matters a lot.
So I actually want to talk about your marketing, because I believe that's one of the most crucial parts about being a successful business, period, whether you're marketing just locally or trying to go on a very large scale. I mean, obviously, we just talked about how, like, you're selling a ton in a local area. Talk to me a little about like the mindset, the strategy that you went into as far as like marketing the company and branding different beers, or, well, I said brand, I know I'm saying that wrong. But like the brand overall, like with each drink, how do you keep it cohesive? How do you,
I'd kind of like to know how y'all come up with the designs for the cans, because they're all so unique, but they're all like.
What we do is we sit in a room and we say, okay, we all talk about what beer we want to release, what style of beer essentially is where that comes from first. And then what the name's going to be. So that's always, I mean, sometimes we've been lucky and it'll be like an easy decision, but a lot of times it's like back and forth, narrowing it down. Don't want to have anybody else's name. Like there may be a brewery out in, another state that has that name, and you just so happen to think of it organically as well. Yeah. But you don't want to step on anybody's toes. So basically it's a style, then it's the name usually. And then we hand that over to Casey and we let her go. Just
that's
see
awesome.
what she
So
does.
do y'all brew do y'all know what beer it is already? Like you've already like said like, hey, here's the recipe. We know what this beer is. Now let's brand it.
It's always different. I mean, sometimes we come up with ideas years before
We
there's
write it
ever a
down
beer.
and
So we're just like,
revisit.
hey,
Okay.
this would be good for this style beer or something, or
Yeah.
or we'll come up with like a cool name and we're like, let's find a beer one day that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then so it really it's a hodgepodge of ways that we like kind of do that process, but sometimes we've already got a liquid that we've tested on our small system and we're like, all right, now we need to brand this liquid.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, all right, this is a new liquid we're gonna come up with, but we got to get working on that side of it, because if it, depending on if it's going to be sold in the tap room only or if it's going to go to distribution, if there's going to be a can, if there's going to be a bottle, and all that stuff, depends on it. That determines really what has to happen, and that kind of changes the flow of things, on the fly a lot. But yeah, no, it's a little bit of both, honestly.
Like Jucifer was a hashtag on the Beer Bright Side back when hashtags were like the thing. You had to like hashtag the heck out of something.
A million hashtags.
Yeah. And Zach was like, I was like, come up with some good hashtags. And he's like, Jucifer. And I'm like, what? And so we did hashtag Jucifer on Brightside, which was our rye IPA that was in our core lineup, but it is no longer. And Jucifer took off, and that was actually something that we were told by a few people. You don't want to name it Jucifer, like that's a little. But we went for it, and obviously people have embraced it, and it's our number one selling beer. And so that was based off of a hashtag that Zach came up with on the fly. So the name came first, technically, for that. I mean, but we knew we wanted to brew like a
we
New
didn't
England
actually
style
know we were
hazy
going to use
IPA.
it as the name.
Right.
We
didn't
were
know
just
that.
once we had the beer. And then we're like, what are we going to name it? And then I was like, oh, wait, remember Jucifer? Let's name it that.
Hashtag. We did. And then Skaterade came from Gatorade. Obviously, you know that name. And Skaterade.
Say that.
Well, sorry, bleep.
Yep.
Cut that out. I don't think Gatorade's coming for us, dude. I think
they got nothing to hold on you anyways.
No, it's Gatorade.
It's like,
it's totally
actually, it came from Haterade.
Oh,
okay.
it did.
Oh, snap.
Okay, I
So,
kind of forgot.
Haterade came from Gatorade, then Gatorade
And I
came
named
from
that
Haterade.
one, so I'll take that.
So, but
Gator in my hat.
the cool thing behind that beer really is behind the name, there's a lot of meaning. So before Gnarly existed, before a lot of other things existed in my life, I used to work for a nonprofit organization helping to bring skate parks to other communities in Louisiana. I did a lot of the building for the parks or whatever. So I've always been involved in fundraising for that kind of stuff, and skaters. Obviously, I've been a skater for a very long time. Still, break my hip every now and then. But the
just don't heal as fast. Huh?
But the brewery itself is. I mean, our first festival we ever served at was a fundraiser. It was a nonprofit or a event for the LASPCA. So we've always done a lot of nonprofit stuff. So this beer not only is it named cleverly, but a portion of the sales goes to helping local skate communities.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
All year round taproom distribution cans. I mean, portion of those sales year round go to, like I said, we call it skateboard initiatives, because it kind of it leaves the option to change who we're sending the money to right now. And from the beginning, it's always been the Parasite in New Orleans, which is a skater built park that they kind of just forced on the city. They built the park, and the city was like, what is this thing? We're building a skate. It was in some city land under an overpass. Then they said, all right, well, we got to tear it down, but we'll let you build it somewhere else. So then they were able to raise money to help, literally just raise money to buy concrete so they could go out there and build their own park.
Wow.
And so that's been just fun to be part of that project, because it's just such an organic project, and it's in now that area is much better off because of it. And those skaters, they really love having that, and they take care of it. So they've been the recipient from day one of the funds, and still are today.
That's really cool.
But yeah, and as they grow into a larger and a little more on their own feet, which not that they're not, they're doing very well for themselves, but we could it'll always forever be funds raised for different skate initiatives throughout.
That's really cool.
I love that, man.
That's awesome. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, because as far as like Jucifer goes, y'all kind of blew up with that one, right? Like it became a huge thing. And honestly, that's like, we talk about this in our meetings and stuff too. Like we want to be sure that we're sure that our operations are in order to be able to handle a huge amount of people. And so I'm curious, like, what did y'all do to prepare for that? I'm also curious, like, as far as marketing. the look, she's like, I don't know if we were.
We were not.
We were definitely not.
We definitely were not.
It's that one of those figure out, and maybe that's one of the things that kind of holds a lot of people back, because I do feel like it's holding me back. I know that, like, we have this isn't about me. I know that, like, companies, all right, can have a really good product or a really good service, but then, it's like, it's almost like doing a video on YouTube, right? You do it, and it could, a lot of people could be like, man, it's a really good video, you should do more of those. But like, I don't know, it's not perfect, and like you get this conception of like, it's not perfect and things are going to be messy. How are people going to think about it? Those are things that go through my head, like, oh man, what if we're not able to handle the mass growth, and then we screw this up, and then we're going to have a bad reputation. And so like all those stresses come on. I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. So like, that's why I'm like, personally, I'm just very curious, like, how y'all handle that. Like, what did y'all do to really, like, if y'all had to pivot and move forward in that?
Did you know it was going to be a hit, or did it just kind of like blow up?
There were stages.
He had a dream one day.
So this style of IPA was very new, and I'll try to be really quick about this, but it was a new style of IPA that was really starting to gain attention nationally, but it was starting on the East Coast. It's called a New England style IPA for a reason. But I had a friend of mine who was over there on the coast, Nick Stulik, and he brought a couple beers back, and I had asked about a specific beer, and I'd heard some things about it. I had never been able to get my hands on it. Sip of Sunshine is the beer, but we were setting up in the brewery for an event, one of our anniversary parties or whatever, and I was running around like crazy. There was only a few of us there working there at the time, so it was still like all hands on deck, and we were running around, and I finally got to take a moment and to have a beer, and I went to our fridge, and I was like, oh man, one of these beers that my buddy brought me, cracked it open, and literally it tastes like a sip of sunshine. I was like, holy cow, this beer is something special.
Yeah.
And I was just like, sat there for a moment in all the rush, and was like, this is the future. Like, this is the future of beer. We need to make something like this. And so, that process takes forever. Right. Yeah. So, first thing I did was got with Joey. I was like, look, try this beer. I know there was already discussion of this style of beer. So we knew about it, but we didn't have a lot of examples of it yet. So I was like, we need to do something just like this. So we started coming up with a plan. He started brewing test batches. And I think it was the third one that we ended up going back, third test batch we ended up going back to, but it was pretty straightforward. We're like, did the research, looked it up, what goes into it. It's a lot of water profile stuff. It's a lot of brewing practices that we are kind of against our normal, or against the norm, because you're making a very hazy protein filled, liquid, that has a lot of suspended hops. And, old school German brewing and brewing in general, especially brewing for manufacturing, is like, you want to make clearer and more shelf stable because of, possible bad storage or whatnot. So this beer was, even before Jucifer, like when we ended up putting it out there, people were like, you can't put that style of beer on a shelf. It'll go bad immediately and it'll taste terrible.
Really?
And wow. Here we are. 8 years, 7 years later.
Isn't it funny how
one of the best selling beers
don't have any skin in the game? They're like, they can tell you, hey, this is not going to work for you.
We weren't used to it.
I was kind of terrified. Right? I kind of agreed with them, but we went for it. But we did a lot of testing at a time. Anyway, so I don't remember what the original question was, but so preparing for the success. Anyway, so as soon as the test batches came back, I let a few people at the brewery, a few of our customers try it, and they were like, what is this? And I'm like, okay, this is something different. Yeah. They're like, this is different. I'm like, this is going to be great. So, we had just actually changed, moved to a new bank, and a weird skateboarder brewer is going to give a shout out to a bank, but Home Bank. We had just switched over to them, and they have and still have been stellar to us. But they had bought our debt. Basically, they'd taken over our loans and gave us enough money to put a canning line in. Not long before Jucifer. So we were growing already because of the money they kind of gave us. And cool thing is, John Zollinger, who's now a good friend, he's no longer with our market. He's still with Home Bank in the New Orleans market. He's a huge fan of craft beer. Yeah. So he was able to see through the numbers a little bit and say, I see the potential in breweries right now and what they're doing. And so he was able to really go out on a limb because he was like, I understand the industry very well. Wow. I see what they have going on. And so once Jucifer did come out, we had just started canning only several months before that. So that we were already on the growth. So we were already undersized for what was about to happen. We were not prepared at all for what Jucifer was about to do. I delivered the first myself in my pickup truck to one of our distributors, and they were getting out of my truck with a forklift. And they damaged one of the 6-packs. And so right there on the loading dock, some of the other salesmen were down there. And we cracked open the ones that were like not even cold at that point. They would have been, riding in my truck all the way there. And I watched all of them on their first sip be like, what is this? And I just remember, oh man, I could sell a boatload of it on whatever on North Carrollton, or I could sell, they just started like getting excited about selling it. I mean, it was like, oh no, this is going to be, I've never heard them talk like this. This is, wow. Usually it's like, hey, let's put it in and see what the customer says. But they were like, I'm going to be able to sell a ton of this and naming accounts. And I was like, oh man, this is something different. We got back, it blew up. We could not keep up with the production. We had to discontinue cans in order to just do draft sales because we were still canning our other products, but we could not keep up with the can production. So we immediately, I went to John. I was like, I need more tanks. Wow. He's like, well, you just borrowed a bunch of money from us, but now you need more. And he's like, no, I read the internet. Like, this beer is going to be special. He's like, what do you need? So we just started dropping tank after tank. And just to keep up with the production of it. And that was 2017 and 2018. Both those years we grew by nearly 200, 1 year just under 200%, 1 year over 200%. Wow. And we were in the top 50 fastest growing breweries 2 years in a row. It's crazy. Nation top 50 fastest growing breweries in the nation 2 years in a row out of 8,000 breweries. Wow. And that was really what our huge growth. And so how did we deal with it? We dealt with it.
And that was only like what, 3 years after y'all started or something like that?
So that was 2017.
Yeah, because we opened in 2014.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was like, all right, let's just try to keep up. So my job was basically, and unfortunately, the mechanical side of it, I had planned for a lot of additional tanks the last time we did an expansion. So we were literally like, where can we find a tank, get it, drop it in. Now, some of these, we're talking about 2,000 gallon, big, refrigerated fermenting vessels. So it's not like just you can go down the street and find one, but we just as soon as we could put a down payment on one, we'd do it. And it was no thinking, no looking back, just like how many tanks, how fast can we get it in here? And fortunately we were able at the same time grow the production staff to also not only meet the volume but to meet the quality, which was,
and I'm sure that helped a lot. Like,
yeah, I mean that's the other side is you've grown too fast. And
so how did you get the word out about it? Like what was the process in that? Because I'm curious. Like, did you even have to?
No, it was insane. I think it was just the name, the design, and the liquid. Yeah. All three of those came together and just created this monster, so to speak. And we really didn't have to. It was like, word of mouth. I mean, of course we posted about it and all that, but there was no plan. There was no we're going to market this a certain way.
Right.
It was really
the product always comes first, right? Like the product has to be good because if you market really well and the product sucks, then it might get some sales in the beginning. It's always going to drop off. But this was like the opposite of that, where it wasn't marketed super well. That's a testament to your product. Yeah. So that's really cool.
It is really cool.
And the good thing about the beer community is that like people educate themselves and they're in the know. They're looking for what's next, what's coming out. So a few people get their hands on it. There's a lot of groups that post and share information. So that was able to really get the thing going originally, and then then slowly get to the outer reaches to people who aren't craft beer nerds, who are not like looking for the next
a lot of people are like, oh my God, I don't even like craft beer. I don't even like IPAs, but I can drink this. Like, this is not like a typical IPA. Wow. It's very easy drinking. Like,
it's smooth.
It's very citrus forward.
Not very bitter at all. And
that's kind of when I realized that the next, so obviously we knew we had something on our hands and initially that was going to sell well. And, these kind of beers are more catered towards like, the true craft community that looks for unique tasting beers and kind of really strong things, but strong flavors and whatnot. So when we started getting feedback from people who did not drink craft or who didn't drink any IPA and were like, I drink other craft, I can't get into IPAs, but they're like, but I love Jucifer. I was like, okay, this is now
transcending.
It's transcending who I thought it would be.
Yeah.
We were gearing it towards that person who was hardcore. It's got a ton of hops in it. It's aggressively hopped. It's something that,
but it's not bitter.
In development, we were thinking this is going to be something that's going to be it's going to be a wow factor for the people that like that, but then it's going to be a kind of a niche beer, but then it just grew up beyond that. And that's when it was like, all right, this is second level. Now we're realizing this is going to be bigger than just a really good IPA. This is going to be, which has turned into kind of like the IPA. And it doesn't hurt that at the same time as this beer was kind of becoming what it is, there was another brewery in Broussard brewing a similar style IPA that is now one of the most known IPAs, but a double IPA, so an 8.5% version that's very similar to this style beer. So they kind of came up together. They had started brewing that beer before we came out with Jucifer. And like I said, this Jucifer is a 6% single IPA. There's a double IPA. But Parrish has really helped pave the way slightly before us, but in a different style of that. Yeah. And now both those beers have become the IPA. So those two, Jucifer and Ghost in the Machine, have become the two icon IPAs in Louisiana.
Wow. That's awesome, dude. So I do want to ask y'all, and we'll close the show here in a little bit, but I want to ask y'all, what was the biggest, craziest challenge or thing that y'all have had to deal with in your business?
I feel like there was a few, but which one do you want to touch on?
Well, I mean, I know it's kind of what everybody says. I mean, obviously COVID.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's really hurt. Like the hangover of COVID is really hurting the craft beer industry right now tremendously. We're seeing a lot of closures. 2018, we kind of saw it plateau. 2019, we get through that year. Everybody's still doing pretty good, but then COVID happens, in 2020, and a lot of breweries that were small and focused on their tap rooms did really well, believe it or not, through COVID, because they have open air spaces, they have outdoor spaces. It's a community place to meet and to enjoy. And so distribution was hurt because all the restaurants and bars closed down, which is, 35% of our beer is draft beer sold through or beer sold through a restaurant. So, and also draft is more profitable for us in a package, in a can or a bottle. So our most profitable half of our production or whatever was taken away. So the production breweries like us, that we definitely were hurting there. But then a lot of these programs came through. So first of all, you had people were like excited again about craft because they're like, let's support our local brewery. Yeah. A lot of local support during COVID. A lot of, everybody's buying farm bags, and, I still to this day shop at farmers markets and farm boxes and all that stuff and shop more because I got in that habits from COVID and whatnot. But people were staying out of grocery stores and they were going to drive through. They were driving through and they were getting beer put in their trunk that they paid for online. It was cool. Heck yeah. So then you had the supplemental money from the government came through, and a lot of those PPP programs and the employee retention tax credit that helped kind of push through the next year or so. Yeah. And now you're seeing like what really was going to happen with the industry is a plateau and then a reduction. Yeah. And so now, all that money's gone, and this is what really the market is now, is that it is going to reduce for a few years. We're going to see a reduction in volume. There's a lot of people consuming craft cocktails now in a can. So that's basically like you buy a pre-made cocktail in a can. There's, there's the non-alcoholic side of things. A lot of people drank a lot during COVID. Yeah. Yeah. And now they're going back to like, hey, you know what? I probably need to,
chill out a bit.
Chill out a little bit. And so we're seeing that reduction there. There's even things now like in 48 states, THC beverages are now legal.
That's crazy to me. So
you can consume THC in a can or a bottle legally now in a bar, or restaurant, or at your home.
Is that so? Is that like mixed with alcohol, or is
no? There's no.
So it's just THC.
Yeah, solely THC.
Okay.
It's solely. It cannot be mixed with any volume of alcohol. But you're seeing that and seltzer. Obviously, we also saw seltzer take a lot of the market. So those kind of challenges all together. So COVID kind of kicked off with a challenge that we're still in. Yeah. We've seen our first 2 flat years. It was minor growth. which is for us is alien because we've had such a fast, high trajectory. But it goes to show what's happening in the market right now. So, COVID was pivot, do this, the adult lemonade stand we created. So we basically created like a drive-through / get out and just,
get some fresh air.
Purchase of our beer. So I encourage people to come by it. We released a lot of things during that Armageddon being one. Narpocalypse. Interestingly named.
I love it.
Beers. But yeah, so that and what I'm kind of getting at is like COVID, we're still continuing to deal with that challenge. And
the hangover is real.
It changed the world. It really did.
I mean, in a lot of other companies, a lot of other industries, and now we have the economy where it is, which I think is a direct reflection of what happened during COVID. We're still dealing with all that, and and so it's an industry. It's more than just a beer industry thing. So we have a beer industry reduction, but we also have an economy issue as well. So we're seeing a lot of closures, and look, a couple of flat years is nothing to complain about in today's economy. So I'm not, boo-hooing us at all, but it's a bummer because like we are such a tight knit.
Well, it's tough for everybody, man. Yeah. It's tough for everybody. And it's like you said, you're a tight knit community. It's like you care about your community, care about the other small businesses. You said you go to the farmers market and things like that, which that's my whole MO. Like I want to support local businesses. And honestly, I think that's how we can save the economy. And starting where we're at is by, what is the economy, right? It's just a circulation of money. And so you support these smaller businesses, meaning it's going to be divided into more pockets, allowing them to spend more too. I think it's a really good start. I think it's something that we have the power to do instead of like trying to wait on the next president to save us all. It's like we have a lot more power than we think. It's just, it takes numbers. It takes time. So like you had COVID, you did all these things, the adult lemonade stand. So like when I first heard that, I'm thinking like y'all sold like, lemonade with alcohol. Like, I get it now.
Version of a lemonade stand.
I get it now.
Yeah. Beer.
Really cool though. I do love all the theme stuff. I'm huge on themes. Like, I don't know why. I guess
keep it fun, man.
Yeah. It is fun. It's super interesting.
And that's what craft beer should be. To us, it should be fun.
Well, I mean, you got the fun vibes. Like if you look at all the cans and things like that, and I do want to talk about y'all's new one that's out soon here, but I want to talk about so y'all do a lot of events, but you also have because I noticed y'all have people play music over there. Y'all had like a comedy show at one point.
Yeah.
What's the next thing y'all got coming up? I mean, look, I know this is going to be on YouTube.
Dude, so we do live music every Friday and Saturday. So we've become a place where people can come and play, which is great because there isn't a whole lot of options for musicians around here anymore. So
and also the open mic night thing on Wednesdays has been cool because a lot of people who haven't got to the point to where they can start gigging and they can start getting gigs are coming out and playing, and it's kind of that's been like really cool for us because we actually met at a show where we're
that's really
people.
Cool.
Neither one of us play, but
we enjoy
we enjoy
consuming.
So it's really cool. It's really cool to be able to kind of help
be a part of that community.
It feels like you're doing something. You're building.
No, I love that. Up. Me and his brother used to be in a band, back in the day, because like that emo screamo era, and so we were in a band and like we would play anywhere that would let us. We never had any paid gigs, but we would play anywhere that let us. And
y'all need to bring it back on open mic night one night.
We'll see.
Come on.
I wonder if Aaron can still scream like that.
It's been a long time since I've been.
We've had some fun things too. We've done like metal shows. We've done a DJ. We've done, but we try to keep it fun. Try to keep it interesting. We've added some new things to our regular weekly thing, like our weekly lineup. So Monday night is service industry night, 20% off for service industry folks. We've got
awesome.
Tuesdays bingo, and we'll do like fun themes like tie-dye bingo.
I'm gonna have to bring my wife to the bingo, and I'll just watch her drink your delicious beer while I sit
while you
suffering.
Have a tear in your eye.
So,
maybe you'll win at bingo though.
Maybe you'll win at bingo.
That's the way I'll get over on her.
You can eat a hamburger and win a bingo. Oh well, not a bingo.
If you do a lettuce wrap, I can eat that.
Oh yeah,
thanks.
Dang man.
So I'm actually curious, and I feel like I already know the answer to this, but have y'all considered making a gluten-free beer?
Yes, considered it. Yes. It is hard to create the style beer that you want when barley is like your main component. You got barley, hops, yeast, and water.
So those
are your four ingredients.
sorry to interrupt, but there's kind of a lot of people ask during COVID, did you pivot? A lot of people ask, why do you make, now, are you pivoting to seltzer? Are you pivoting to non-alcoholic?
Or THC or any of that?
Or THC. Yeah. I mean, all these things are things that we could do as a brewery, and a lot of our fellow brewers are doing. And the gluten-free thing is a little less in kind of in this group. I think gluten-free is probably the closest thing to what we currently do. It is different. And we've kind of always had the opinion of like, we're sticking to what we're good at because we're comfortable there, and we feel like we're better off spending more time focusing on what we're good at and improving that than going try the new thing, the next thing. And like I said, the gluten-free is a little different, but a lot of breweries are pivoting they pivot to the seltzer, they're pivoting to the non-alc, which the non-alc is great. I think it's got a really big place in the world, and just like all these other things do. But for us, we're not set up to do these things, so our equipment is not designed for it. Our brains are not designed for it. Our training is not there. So for us to create the product that we think is a gnarly product, is worth putting our name on, that's a whole different story. Is like, we just because we can make great beer doesn't mean we can make great seltzer or great cocktails or make a non-alc or gluten-free beer. So we've kind of just said, look, we're going to focus our energy on what we're good at and let people who are good at that do that and own that market. We're not a beverage company. We are a brewery. We are not entrepreneurs. We are brewers.
I noticed y'all said that.
I mean, that's what we are. That's who we are. And there's definitely space in the market for all those.
I think there'd be a lot of folks that would like a gluten-free beer, and I push it all the time.
It's to call it, this is for the sad boy, and like, think of me, and I'm like,
sad boy brewing, sad boy beer. Come on, we got a name here, maybe.
Yeah. I like it.
So anyway, that was a long answer to the question. It's not
never say never. Is
never.
It's what
never.
I think where we're at
well,
it.
let me know if you do, because I
You'll be
want
the first to know.
Thank
How
you.
about that?
I'll be your taste tester. Did it make you sick? I'll let you know tomorrow. No, it really is, because like I've always like coffee and beer have always been my like, what I felt like. Not that I was like this high class, critic of it, but just like I so enjoyed it, and I enjoyed like showing my friends like, dude, you got to try out this beer, and so Luma has really done a great job with that for me as far as coffee and like expanding my mind. I thought I knew what good coffee was until they opened up this world to me of really that craft coffee.
Yeah, we drink Luma every morning. We have at the house, and
I love Luma so much.
Whether it's at the house or going there. I mean, Luma.
We buy beans from them.
But it's like I the sad part about my situation is like I want to have, because like I tell people like, I'm Irish. I don't drink a lot, but I drink often, and so like I want to have that beer, 2 beers, every other evening or every evening or whatever it might be during the day, sometimes just depending on the situation. But when I have my coffee in the morning, then I want to have a beer, and like, because that's when I sit down with my wife and we hang out and we'll drink some.
Gluten-free people, Zach.
Yeah,
Come
man.
on.
I'm trying to give you a sad story. So
He is. He's
laying it on thick, man.
No pressure,
I love gnarly, but I can't have it anymore. It's like it was robbed from me. You do stuff like this for the skate community. It's time to
help the gluten-free community out.
Look, I'll raise some money for you. All right.
There we go. There's a start.
Guys, if you'd like to donate to our new foundation,
please.
He
really needs a beer.
yeah. All purchases, the percentage goes to this proceed. No, I really like when I did have the chance, when I was really getting into it, like I had a few of your beers and I was like, man, this is really good stuff. And I had no idea who y'all were. Like, seriously, I'm like, I didn't even know y'all were from Hammond. Y'all probably had it on the label like you have here. And I like had no idea because I was just oblivious to almost everything. And then I found out from Five Stones, right? Like when we came to film, and I was like, I grew up in this area and I had no idea that y'all were located. I mean, y'all are, like, is that still where y'all are at? Yeah. Is it the same place? Y'all have just expanded.
Corbin Rd.
Oh, they have it looking great back there now. Like,
we have the space across the street now, too. So it's Corbin on each side of Corbin.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Corbin and Natchez, essentially.
Yes. Well, I'm like, I'm definitely gonna come by, even though just stare at the beer. Speaking of that, that one video y'all did on Instagram, absolutely love, because I'm like, man, I wish I would have tried that whenever I was I was able to.
Was it?
Where she just like, it's like the soda drinks, right? Like where you put the different soda in one cup, right? But she did it with the beer, and I'm like,
I wouldn't advise that. But it looks
more
fun, yeah.
But for social media, it's very entertaining because it hits that chord of nostalgia where you're just like,
when you go to
I did that,
like,
that's true.
at these restaurants and stuff, and so it's like, but you're doing it. Like,
we did have a Zach attack at one point, which Zach's like, but we would mix different beers back when it was just draft only. We would take the Corova, which was one of the first, and then Catahoula, and that was a milk bone, right?
Yeah.
Remember that?
We only had 3 beers on tap. We had to
make do with what we had.
It was early days.
It was like milk bone. What were the other 2 names? And then Zach Attack was all 3 together.
Yeah.
You know?
How was
So-
it? How was
Terrible.
it?
It was awful.
He's like, it was terrible. I
I don't know why people would drink it.
But it was for fun because, like, yeah, you only had a few options, right? So you
Hey,
had
it's
to
almost
do
like a challenge. Like, hey, if you could do this.
exactly.
Yeah, they should have got it free.
Drink a keg of Zack Attack, you get it for free.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Oh, back to what you were asking about the events. We do trivia too on Thursdays. I didn't want to leave that out.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
we try to
Teacher appreciation night.
teacher appreciation. Yes, that's
Trivia is a good
20% off
night
for
for y'all to
teachers.
see how little I know.
Oh yeah, me too.
Because
I'm horrible at that.
My
No,
wife's good at that kind of stuff, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I have no
Your wife
idea.
sounds awesome, by the way.
She is
I
awesome.
hang with her.
Y'all probably would get along really, really well. So yeah, last thing, let's go ahead and talk about the how do you say this?
So house
House
mar,
mar.
just like you would
House
order
mar.
a house
House mar.
margarita.
Okay, tell me
But-
about it. How does it taste? How does it taste? Does it taste like a margarita?
Yes.
How the heck do you get a beer to taste like margarita?
Tangerine, lime, salt, the same ingredients you'd put in a margarita. It's a German style beer. It's called a Gose. It's spelled Gose. But
I want to try this really bad.
I one of my favorite beers is a cucumber Gose. And I feel like I would really, really love that.
yeah, maybe
because-
so. It's a little different because it doesn't have any cucumber and it's more like margarita.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's
Like, it's
definitely
I love
refreshing,
margaritas. Yeah.
day drinking.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so
Sun.
the base of the sour is already going to have a little bit of that like a sour tartness, right?
Yep.
So you think about a margarita, you get like that tartness, and then you get the lime, the salts, kind of all in one with the tangerine. But it still is, and that's why with the German spelling on it, it is still a German style and a true German style sour. So it's kind of an amalgamation of a good margarita and then a good sour
I love it.
beer.
That's
so
awesome.
it's
Cultures
really
combined.
it's
And we
pretty
don't
cool. It's
have
something different.
a sour in our year-round lineup. We do sours throughout
So this
the year.
is year round.
This will be
will be
year-round. It'll
year-round.
join Jucifer, Corova, Skaterade, and Catahoula Common as a year-round. So we're excited about that because we've done sours in the tap room, and they've been very well received. We've done a strawberry margarita, and we've done a mango margarita.
Oh wow.
And those are really delicious. However, you can't really, that's not as easy to
Seasonal
produce
kind of
as
thing,
a year-round thing. So it's more of a seasonal one. But we wanted, after we had all the sours and people loved them, we're like, okay, well, let's add something to the year-round lineup. And so that's where House Marg comes in. And
Is it on draft and can?
Yes.
Or
it'll be
Okay,
both.
draft
And it'll
cans.
be grocery stores, bars, restaurants, at the brewery, year-round. So we're very, very excited to add something new.
I feel like, I mean, I haven't tried it obviously, but I feel like that is going to be a hit just because, I mean, you hit a whole, like, I could be wrong. Slap me if I'm wrong. Please don't. Make me a gluten beer if I'm wrong.
yeah, there we go.
Gluten-free beer, I mean. Like, I feel like that really kind of appeals to a lot of ladies too. You know?
I mean, it's refreshing. So for Louisiana, I feel like it's also it's a hot climate. So that's really
Look,
nice.
I will say, like, I love margaritas. Like, I love margaritas, and it sounds very interesting. And I'm not saying that it only appeals to women, because
I'm
obviously,
eyeing it up right now. I'm sitting here
as
looking
an
at
IPA
it.
would appeal to a lot of women. But a lot of women have come up and said, "Oh my God, it's like a mimosa to me." So
that's crazy.
really,
Wow.
I think it's going to appeal to both, but especially works well for our hot
I'm
weather.
like, I'm gonna go home and cry after this.
Oh no,
this is a hard episode, guys.
I'm so sorry.
No. This is really cool. I am gonna end up trying them and just deal with the consequences later. Just because, like, I need to say that I tried. Look, I support you.
Did you just take
guys.
a bunch of medicine before or something?
Yeah, just load up.
I'm ignorant. I'm ignorant.
Not that I know of. No, I don't think so. I mean, it's an autoimmune disease. So like,
no, it's not that. Yeah,
it's a little more serious than just like
yeah. I mean, like, it still happens from time to time. So it's not like I can't deal with it. I'll just have to like free a schedule where it's like, okay, I'm gonna work from home. It's gonna be harder to breathe. I'll be fun.
Lord.
It's gonna be okay. I don't know though.
It's gonna be harder to breathe.
I'll let you know. I'll leave a review and say like, please, it was so good. I keep drinking it, but I feel like I'm dying. So don't let me die. Make me
Zach,
a
we gotta get something going. Some non-alcs and just
this man's
whatever.
life is in your hands, Zach.
And some gluten-free.
Look, guys, thank y'all so much for watching. Thank you, Carrie and Zach. Like, I really, it's amazing products from what I've tried. Like, I don't know, like 9-10 years ago, something like that. Incredible product. I love what y'all are doing with the community. I will be stopping by and just to hang out and watch everybody drink. But
come to the 10-year anniversary party, and that way you can listen to music and have fun and have your family. And
when is that coming up?
May 18th.
May 18th. So we're gonna have that on the radar. That sounds very fun.
2024.
It'll be a good time. Yes.
So no, that's awesome. Look, seriously, it's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed it. And if you're ever in Louisiana, it definitely would be worth stopping by Hammond, Louisiana, to meet these guys and drink some of their beer. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the show and you want to know more about what real entrepreneurs or brewers in their case go through to start their business, because this was vastly different than most people, because it seems like y'all are just like, we didn't think about it. We just went strong. We love what we do and we did it. So if you enjoyed that, be sure to subscribe for more content like that.